Of course, we would have this incredibly indulgent person in the White House trying to make sure that we only look at America through one lens. They're trying to keep our eyes away from the things that are most relevant, like the Epstein files, right? We thought, why not highlight the real history that we never get to talk about?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to America Who Hurt You. I'm your host, Sarah Jones, and you might know me from the voices of my characters, but on this pod today, you will be hearing only two voices, mine and that of the true icon, Tarana Burke. Now, every episode of this pod is special, but this one in particular feels so timely given what our leaders are up to, and we usually lean toward humor, and we definitely will today. But we also are going to talk about some sensitive subjects that we all need to discuss. And there is no better person to do that with than Tarana Burke. Most people know her as the creator, the founder of the Me Too movement. But her work didn't just start in 2018. For over 35 years as an activist, movement leader, and author, Tarana Burke has worked at the intersection of sexual violence and racial justice, advocating for disproportionately impacted people, particularly Black women and girls. She's also written 2 New York Times bestsellers, You Are Your Best Thing, which if you haven't read it, you must, and Unbound. And she's the founder of the nonprofit Me Too International, which on top of helping up to 60 million survivors in the US create political power as a voting bloc, is also celebrating America's 250th anniversary with its Survivor History is American History campaign. I mean, love. Before we dive in with Tarana, if you love this pod as much as we love you, please subscribe on YouTube, which you should definitely be watching, or you can follow us wherever you're listening now. Make sure you like this episode, and don't forget to follow us on all the socials at Yes, I'm Sarah Jones and America Who Hurt You. All of that really supports the work we're doing here, and it can help us keep going in the future. Now, here is my conversation with the incomparable Tarana Burke. Ms. Tarana, how are you feeling, Queen?
I feel great.
Yes, you do. Because you're Tarana Burke. If I woke up being you every day, I would be like, it's a great day. Okay, I'm probably already screaming. See, this is my problem is I have my pod persona that I'm supposed to maintain, but I interview the people I love. And so I have no decorum. So let me just try to, We are both here in our Knicks-inspired blue and orange.
That's right.
That's right. So if people are, if you're sick of us, use that as resilience training because this is going to be happening for a while.
It's happening.
All other conversations.
This is what we are.
Yes. Everything else will be filtered through this lens.
Yes.
Until
Basketball
further
metaphors,
notice.
The whole thing.
Until further notice. So we're going to take the W and keep taking it and taking it. Mm-hmm. Speaking of W's, so Tarana Burke is one of the people I love most in movement work, but also in life, because even though I don't see her all the time, every time I do, I am reminded of how beautifully both and this life is. And I know there are folks who, they hear your name, they immediately think Me Too. And the movement, the Me Too movement, which you have literally built, and you are the chief vision officer of like this organization that is doing essential work in our country, in our world. And you are the funnest. You are so freaking fun. Every time I see you, we'll get to do a thing or something. And I always get to bring my most fun characters. Rashid, he's always like, oh, Tarana here. Yeah. It's like, so I want to ask you off top, how do you balance the seriousness of your calling, of this brilliant work you've been doing since you're a teenager to talk about survivor history, survivor rights, and your joy, your fun, your fashion, your beauty? How do you hold all of that together?
I mean, it's how I survive. I think that people hear survival and they hear sexual violence and they hear about like this work and immediately, which I mean, obviously it's serious work. It's traumatic. It's all of those things. But I don't think we think enough about the material lives of survivors. We are human beings. And so the actual act of surviving is everyday work. And I have a girlfriend who says, can't walk through life dragging your knuckles all the time. And
Can
so,
she please tell the people in the White House?
okay.
I'm sorry, please continue.
And so I think that's what people imagine though, that their survival is that it's just walking through life, just dragging your knuckles all the time. And wouldn't that be tragic? And so I have to find fun. I have to find joy. And I like to laugh. That is a big part of what my survival looks like. And I like to make people laugh. I like I come from a family that is that is all about the big belly laughs and snapping jokes and all that kind of stuff. And so that's who I am. And I think it surprises people a lot because the work is so serious. But yeah, that's definitely a big part. I like brightness. I like joy. And I like to be an example of that for survivors because I think we think that can't be a part of our life anymore. And it's just absolutely the opposite of that.
Mm. I would love to hear more about this because I'm picturing little Tarana surrounded by this family and the big belly laughs. Yeah. And I relate so much. I was a little kid, before I came into awareness of growing up on the streets of New York, getting catcalled at 12 and 13 and
right.
That mix, right? When you think back to, first of all, where were you growing up as young Tarana? For people to
in the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
That's right.
Back then I would have been like, Queens, but now I'm just like Bronx, Queens. Yes. Solidarity. So growing up in the Bronx, surrounded by all of what that means, what would you say you can remember now was already percolating in young Tarana that led you to where you are now?
So I think survival is a lot of things, right? There was definitely the survival of the trauma and all of that, but it was just survival of being in the Bronx, right? I think there's some part of it that is not to be funny, but I didn't have a lot of time to think about that part of it because there was just general survival. There's trying to get home from school, there's like that kind of everyday, whether it was the people in your neighborhood. I went to Catholic school for the larger part of my elementary school life. So there was like surviving the nuns,
not surviving the nuns,
like there's a lot of different things that I was surviving, but it was not just survival. It was also thriving. I came from a very vibrant community and we were very close knit. My father was the number man in the neighborhood. And for people who don't know what that is, he ran the illegal numbers in the community. It's like lottery, if you will, but, off the books. And so he was like a central figure in the community. And so, but he also sold the newspapers. So everybody came through he had a storefront and everybody came through. So we knew everybody in the community. Everybody knew my father. And so we were just very central. Our community was really, really close. He was also the first kind of example of activism that I knew because I don't think he would ever call himself an activist, neither would my mother, but he made sure everybody was fed. He also had, this is very important, he also had the what do you call it? He had the wrench.
He had the wrench. That wrench.
He had the wrench. Yes, he could open the pump in the summer. So he was a very important part of the community, right?
So can we just translate? Let's translate. So yes. For people who are like wrenches, pumps, what are we? Exactly. Is it shoes? We know Tarana loves fashion. No, baby. Yeah. This is the other pump, which is the fire hydrant.
The fire hydrant. It's a very niche New York thing. If you are the person in the community who has the big wrench, because it's the wrench that the fire department has. So it's a really big, giant wrench that you're not supposed to have, I suppose, but he had it. And you're the person who can open the pump. And if you've probably seen it on TV and movies and stuff like that, where the kids play in the fire hydrant. So my dad was the one who can open the fire hydrant in the summer for the kids to play in the water. So he was a community leader, right? He was the person who could do that. He was also the guy who my mother and him arranged the bus rides in the summer. So he would take the kids out of the neighborhood to like ride Playland or, Great Adventures. But he also was the person you called when something was wrong. So I watched all of this happen. I watched him keep, him and his friends, they kept law and order in the community. They fed the kids. If you were hungry, you knew to come to Mr. West. You couldn't pay your rent, you knew to come to Mr. West. So I watched community in action from a very young age. And I watched us be reliant on each other from a very young age. And so I learned that really, really young, right? That you take what you have to make what you need. And we relied on each other. And that's something that I cherish and I value, to this day, that we are each other's resource, right? And that we can figure things out as community. And community is where you start and where you finish. So I believe that.
I mean, you believe it, you live it. And it's funny, I'm so moved. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's like, and for people who don't understand the numbers, this is my thing. If you really want to talk about corruption and numbers, again, CC, Washington, D.C., right? And yet who gets arrested? Who gets policed? But like what I'm hearing is the reminder that our informal economies, first of all, they had no choice but to be informal. I think my family, I've been doing some digging, and some of my West Indian relatives, folks were selling stuff that was falling off of trucks and this type of thing. And then becoming a resource, right? Like able to buy a little land here and there where they could, and then be the landlords who wouldn't kick people out or would let people in as Black folks who needed to rent, right? Like you look at it.
You know how this is. Yeah.
Listen.
It was not legal, but all that money went right back into the community, right? My father's from St. Croix. Like that's listen, and then we had every Puerto Rican, Dominican, West Indian, Southern. We had every nationality, every ethnicity in the community. It was like that's the other part about. I mean, I know we're gonna go earlier in this conversation to bring it back to the Knicks, though. But that's the other part about this moment that is so good. Like when I look at that Knicks team. The Dominican, Jamaican, African,
Puerto Rican.
It's so good. And this moment with Mondani being the mayor, it feels like old New York, right? When I saw homeboy was his Alvarado get off the plane and go straight to the Puerto Rican Day Parade, oh man, my heart just when he put that Puerto Rican flag on. Oh my gosh, I was like, my heart. I love New York so much. I love being from the Bronx so much, and it's just like. And I'm such a Knicks fan, and I've been a Knicks fan forever. Like this is not a new thing. Right? This is like I was born in '73, right? I was there in 1994 watching the playoffs against Houston when they interrupted for OJ, right? Like I'm an old school Knicks fan.
There's so much.
I was there with Charles Smith. When Charles Smith missed that shot, like I'm an old school Knicks fan. So like my heart is like ready to burst, and we learn so much growing up as New Yorkers that the world can learn from. And I feel like we're coming back to that, right? And it's a beautiful moment. And I learned to survive. I really did. I learned to survive growing up in the city. And I think it has taught me so much as an organizer, and it's taught me so much as an activist in this moment. And I've tried to bring that into all of the work that I've done.
Yes. And I want to bring it to something really powerful that you're kind of bringing people's attention to right now. So we are in this season of America's 250th birthday. I'm like, girl, you in a crisis? Is this a birthday intervention? What do we need to do? But the reality that as we're celebrating this Knicks win, and I agree, it's bigger than the city. It really does symbolize the pluralist vision, right? The multicultural kind of range of people. And we have to use words that have been crossed off, that are on a list: inclusive, diverse, like, right? Like we are those so-called forbidden words that really are the best of America. And so we get to be the anti-UFC villain, K Klan, Nazi. I mean, they're just really showing out with this trillionaire, misery. They're just miserable. And look at us, joyful, come from behind, even if it takes 53 years. So what I want to bring back around is in this 250th year, you are part of a movement, like the movement that you're always part of, but right now looking at survivor history is American history. This is something you're coining. Say more about that.
So, of course, we would have this incredibly indulgent person in the White House who would only look at America through one lens and is trying to make sure that we only look at America through one lens. And we thought that this was a perfect time to really, if we're going to look at America, we're going to look at America. And in this moment where we are, they're trying to keep us, keep our eyes away from the things that are most relevant, like the Epstein files, right? We are not seeing justice. We are not seeing accountability as usual around for survivors. We thought, why not highlight the real history, the rest of the history rather, that we never get to talk about. And the truth is, America was built on sexual violence. There's a foundation of sexual violence in this country that gets incredibly ignored. And so we put together a campaign at Me Too International called Survivor History is American History, right? There's a whole history that we have completely ignored, particularly when it comes to Black women and people of color in this country. And so we start all the way back to the founding of this country and come all the way through to current day, looking at the history of sexual and gender-based violence and mirror it with, other foundational moments in American history and stuff that people don't talk about. We start with chattel slavery and Reconstruction and Jim Crow and look at these different eras, the feminist movement, and come all the way up to this digital era, and trace these really pivotal times so that we can show that these were big foundational moments. The very first time that a woman testified, a woman and a trans woman testified before Congress in America was about sexual violence.
When was that? The very
first time. That was, don't get me the line, but it was right after the Civil War.
Wow, Tarana, I had no idea. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for you to be like, oh, well, it was 1970. Blah.
No.
You telling me the very first time a woman and a trans woman testified before Congress was right after the Civil War?
Yep. After the Memphis riots, they had a formerly enslaved woman, and we found out later she was a trans woman. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't close my mouth. I can't, because I was going to ask you, this is the interesting thing, because everything from the civil rights movement, the Voting Rights Act, which we are seeing, being destroyed, and how you link that all up with the, movement to kind of make sure we don't bury the truth about survivors and our history. I need to say our. I'm having a moment coming out on this podcast saying, and I'm sure I've alluded to it before, but you helped me ground into like, I'm a survivor too. Like, I don't know very many women, and certainly not very many Black women who aren't survivors of some kind of, whether it's SA, but what I want to get to is you made the very important point that we are disproportionately, as Black women and trans women and Indigenous women, who are the most disproportionately subject to sexual violence. That's right. And I'm looking at that connection and the fact that this woman was a Black trans woman all the way back around the Civil War.
1866.
1866. And she testified before Congress.
Before Congress, yeah. They were investigating the Memphis massacre of 1866. So it's the first known trans woman, Frances Thompson, and then Lucy Smith. They were formerly enslaved Black women.
Wow.
That's like, so this is how far back this history is, right? This is, people don't know it. And so we trace this history all the way back and we come all the way up to current times.
Wow.
And show this is what American history is. And this is the history that people know.
That is still blowing my mind. That since right after slavery, not only Black people, but Black trans people have been fighting for their place in this country. I'm going to go read up some more on Frances Thompson during this next break. Okay, so much like my characters, this pod is kind of part of my family. And just like when raising a family, it takes a village. Today, I want to thank one of our village members, LA Material. LA Material is a new independent news outlet focused on all things Los Angeles. Founded by some of the city's best journalists, including Pulitzer Prize winning talent from the LA Times, BuzzFeed, LAist, SF Standard, and more, LA Material distills all of the city's must-know information into a daily newsletter, making LA feel more legible to its readers. With a mix of original reporting, scoops, analysis, things to do, and conversation-driving stories, LA Material is built for people who just want to feel more connected to the city. You can subscribe for free at lamaterial.com and follow them on Instagram at Los Angeles Material. Thanks, LA Material, for joining our village this season. We are back, but before we get into this next section, Tarana and I speak explicitly about sexual assault. So if that is at all triggering for you, please be aware that it will come up for a few minutes. Okay, back to the episode.
When Me Too and viral people were saying, we finally have a movement to talk about sexual violence, and we're like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We would never even begin to try to take credit for starting a movement. Like, this history. People don't know that Rosa Parks fought against rape before she sat down on the bus in Montgomery, right? There was a woman named Recy Taylor in Alabama who was gang raped, and Rosa Parks ignited a national campaign to fight for justice for Recy Taylor.
Wow.
People only know about Rosa Parks and what she did in the Montgomery bus boycott. But she was an activist before that and did this incredible work around sexual violence, right? So this is why we are launching this campaign. If we're going to talk about America and we're going to talk about America's history, the long before Me Too started, long before the legacy that started in 2017, right? This is 100 years of history that we need to talk about because it's embedded in the DNA of this country, and people need to talk about it. While we have this particular president in office, we need to talk about it.
Mm. You know, you're making me remember also Claudette Colvin, right?
That's right.
Right. So this history, it's almost like, you know how there have been so many histories that folks like you have needed to put out into the kind of conversation to make sure we don't end up with, I mean, literally this president had, what was his UFC fighter last night? You know,
talking about Michelle Obama.
Talking about Michelle. And I thought to myself, this is exactly the patriarchy, the misogynoir. This is it. It's like, what is the worst thing you can do is attack a woman for her blackness, for being strong, call her a man, like the homophobia. It's just so, it's all tied together. Let me ask you this. You, in this history, right? Because I thought about like, just this framing, Tarana, I'm sure it's hitting everyone differently, but I was like, oh, Sally Hemings. Like, you can't talk about the founding fathers without talking about a Black woman who's a survivor. Like,
that's right.
Yeah. What are the examples? Like, because my mind is so blown by, say her name again.
Frances Thompson and Lucy Smith. These are historical, but even, you know, we talk about Anita Hill. Everybody knows Anita Hill, and as we should. I mean, and I should say many people know Anita Hill. A lot of people don't. But people should know Anita Hill, who testified before Congress around Clarence Thomas. And we know her because she helped us to understand sexual harassment. Before that, there was Michelle Vincent, who is the Black woman whose lawsuit helped us coin sexual harassment, right? We understand sexual harassment as a thing because of a Black woman's lawsuit, Michelle Vincent.
Wow. What year was that, Tarana? Do you remember?
It was in the 80s.
So think about that. This is within your and my lifetime, right?
That's right. That's in our lifetime.
Like, I remember hearing that the term domestic violence didn't exist. Like, I know in New York growing up, if there was a domestic, you know, squabble or whatever, I'm using air quotes if you're listening, I think the cops had something that was like, if it was out on your front lawn, then they could intervene. But as soon as it went back across your threshold of your door and it was in the house, the man got to do whatever he wanted.
Well, you know, when we were growing up, remember, was it Burning Bed?
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
That was the big turn. That was the big, I remember when that movie came out, and that was like a big deal because it was like revolutionary.
Didn't she, can you remind me? Because it was a story about a white woman, I feel like, and it was like a TV movie or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think she either she burnt her husband alive.
Right. He was abusing her long term.
Yeah, he was abusing her
finally,
long term.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I remember we were young. We had to be
I don't think I was allowed.
little
I'm a
kid.
low key. I don't think I was allowed to watch it, but I
I think
remember
we like snuck and watched it. I just remember that it was a big deal.
right.
That that it was about domestic violence, and it was like this big turning point. And so like in our lifetime, it was domestic violence even being talked about was a huge thing, and it was
Right.
like so revolutionary. Like so, I mean, we need to trace it, and I think younger people now take it for granted that they can have these conversations and that we can have hashtags and we can have movies and conversations. I'm like, not even your parents, your older sisters, your aunties could not even have these big conversations, which is why Me Too was such a big deal, because I was astonished that we could have a sustained national conversation about sexual violence. Because even, domestic violence, intimate partner violence had come further than sexual violence. People were used to start, having those conversations. Sexual violence was still pretty taboo to have a real conversation, a public conversation about it. So this tracing this history is really important so people can see we've been trying to have this national conversation for a long time.
Right.
So
right.
I'm really excited to put it out there.
I'm so glad you're doing this. And I think, another piece I want to lift up for the younger people, like there are people potentially listening to this who Me Too was a core part of, how they were thinking about our larger culture. It was helpful, problematic in some ways, but helpful to have Hollywood lifting it up. And then that's how people's attention came to it. I'm remembering that if you hadn't very carefully fought to make sure people understood how much work you had been doing for years, people were taking hashtag Me Too and not crediting you. And it was this wild, it kind of brings me back to your point that, sexual violence is something we all need to be able to talk about all over the world. It really impacts everyone. It impacts all genders. And the fact that a Black woman, from the US, in the context of your movement work and how you were just kind of, you were brought up to be an organizer. You know what I mean? You naturally grew into this person who was like, hey, this is here. It's connected to all of these other pieces. You're one of the only people I've heard talk about the connection to gun violence. You're one of the only people I've heard really articulate how important it is for people to understand believe women means investigate. It doesn't mean whoever steps out and says, hey, this happened to me, that all the facts are right there and you can prosecute somebody, on the spot. It means for so long we haven't been able to talk about it or speak on it at all, that just open up the dialogue. What I want to get back to is I think the backlash of this moment and the fact that so many of us are only a generation removed from, you could slap a woman in the movie, she's hysterical, slap her. It was funny to watch women get stabbed. Like, this is our culture for so long. And so I'm just thinking about how literally these Epstein files, these Michelle Obama, like they can't get past attacking women because it's been happening this way for generations. And now we have the ultimate symbols of these kinds of people in power. Like, what can the average person listening, what can they do to help lift up the fact that survivor history is American history when everybody just wants to talk about hot dogs? I'm sorry, when 4th of July rolls around, people like 250 and hot dogs. It's like, let's reframe.
I think what's really beautiful, honestly, is that the average person is starting to shift. I think we're getting to a place now where the everyday person's analysis is a little bit different and a little more expanded than I say even ours was, when we were younger, or, millennials, because they're a little younger.
X, millennial,
right?
Z.
We're both X. Yeah. And that makes me a little bit hopeful, because I think they ask more questions. They want more information. And so the average person now is a little more curious. So you can't get over them as much. They're like, wait a minute, what's happening here? They're a little more curious, and they push back a little. These young people, these teenagers, they want to know more. They want to know why. And they are not satisfied with just giving them anything. So I do think when this July 4th rolls around and they're looking around at all the foolishness and the like, why are we celebrating this birthday, this country? So I have the question when you ask about, when I think about like, why are you so angry?
Like America, why is America so angry?
Yeah, we should be angry. Like you have some nerve. But I think that the average person is asking better questions than maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. And so we just have to keep feeding them more information so that they know, that they can shape those questions a little bit better, right? I think that they are starting to feel a little unmoored. They're like, wait a minute, this is not right. This is not good. Even I might be stepping out a little bit better here, a little bit far here, but even some of the folks on the other side, right? I do think that people are starting to get a little bit like, this is not what I signed up for. And so I feel like if the more information we put out there, the more we give them without any caveats, right? Without just like, here is information. You need to get a lot of information because what I'm not putting anything on it. Just here's the information. Read it for yourself because you have been bamboozled. you have been bamboozled. Because I will say this, I don't even feel like, I don't even know how much I believe in sides anymore. I feel like we have to do some deep soul searching on our quote unquote side as well. And certainly these folks got to do some soul searching. What I will say, if there is going to be sides, there's some harm reduction, at least on our side, and I'm all for that. So I do want people to be more invested in harm reduction at the very least.
For folks who are like, harm reduction, I've heard that, but what does it really mean?
Yeah, what it means is that, people get upset because they're like, the Democrats are terrible too, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, you're right. I'm not saying that they're not. But I am saying that I understand why people keep coming back, because at the very least, they're doing things that are keeping people out of harm's way. It may not be in the long run, it may not be like getting us to liberation, right? But for right now, they're trying to keep people out of harm's way. So for instance, they're trying to keep groceries cheaper, or they're trying to keep people getting medical attention or stuff like that. So that keeps people from being more harmed in the short run.
Right.
But I think that what people are tired of is Band-Aids. These are Band-Aids that are not going to, in the long run, get us to a place where we need to be more liberated, more free, and live a life that doesn't require us to keep putting a Band-Aid on that's going to keep peeling back and revealing the same wound. We need to heal the actual wound. That's why I'm saying that people are more savvy now. They're realizing that you keep putting this damn Band-Aid on, and in a couple of days, it's just going to roll back, right? And people want to heal the wound. And they're also realizing that, they're like left wing, right wing, same bird.
Ooh.
Right? People want a new bird.
Well, we need a new bird.
Like, I don't know if I want poultry. I think I want some beef.
Wow. And for my vegans out there, you know exactly what she means. So everybody calm down. Yes, please. Everybody calm down.
Make it tofu, whatever.
You know what? Satan. That's too close to Satan. We already have him.
Yeah. But I'm just, on our point, I think that people are realizing that this is just, it's the same bird. But I do understand. I can see the whole thing. I can see why maybe we flying with one wing. This is at least we trying to stay afloat. And other people are like, yo, land the bird and let's get us off this beast. This whole beast is not good for us. And so my thing is sometimes we have to, like, I'm using too many metaphors, I know at this point. We have to build the plane while flying, but
build the bird while flying the plane.
Right. Like, but we need a new thing. Yes. At the end of the day, we just need a new thing.
Yes.
We really do. This bird is tired. It really is. It's tired. It's not going to get us there. These wings are tired, both the left and the right. They're not going to fly much longer.
It's the same bird, just different wings. You guys need to be watching this on YouTube so you can see the way my jaw hit the floor when she dropped that gem. Ooh, I'm going to take a little break. Calm myself down. Yo, what's good, y'all? I know you enjoying the Tarana Burke
episode. She a real one. Speaking of real ones, the Knicks, they did their damn thing. And while we got y'all hearing these good Knicks vibes, don't forget to go to YouTube, subscribe to that shit. Make sure you go follow across all the channels and all the things. We on this America Who Hurt You glow up. If the Knicks could do it in 53 years, we could do it in a couple of years, you know what I mean? So share this with your friends, your family, all that, you know what I mean? We're going to see you on YouTube. We're going to see you on the Substack, Instagram, whatever these other it's a lot of platforms. You know what I mean? I'm not really no platform type of dude, but that's all right. I'm going to go subscribe. You going to do it too. All right. I'm going to put the microphone back, but I just want y'all to recognize me as part of New York. Knicks all day. Knicks forever. It's going to be like this for about 6 months. All right. Sarah Jones is back on you now.
Ooh, thank you, Rashid. We are back with Tarana, and you are going to want to listen to this all the way to the end to hear how she strikes a balance between being a world-renowned advocate and a fun-loving baddie. Hint, karaoke is involved.
We need a new thing. We just do. And so I 100% understand the people who are like, I got to get off this. I need to get off the whole thing. None of it is really going to benefit me in the long run. I will tell you, I had a moment. I always talk about the Kavanaugh hearings because it was such a big aha moment for me. It was when I knew that I wanted to start an organization, because I tried really hard not to start an organization, because sometimes I feel like nonprofits aren't the answer. It's a whole nother story. But I started the organization because I realized I needed a container for my vision. Right? I had my own vision, and I didn't want other people using me to further their vision. But it was at the Kavanaugh hearings when I watched. And this is controversial for some people, but whatever.
They'll be all right.
Person. But I watched that dais of Democrats and Republicans, and I watched Christine Blasey Ford sitting there. And I just had a moment when I was like, I don't believe anybody here. It just felt like political football, right? I didn't feel like anybody was completely invested in what she needed, right? And what the issue actually was. I felt like everybody was except for Sister, what's her name?
Ketanji Brown.
No. Kamala.
Oh, Kamala. Oh, mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this ain't even about her running for president or what I feel about any of that. Just in that moment, I was actually in the room, so I can speak from my experience in the room. She was the only person I felt like in that room, in that moment, who was invested in her and the actual issue. Regardless of how you feel about her, this is really not political in that way. Everybody else, it just my spirit. I'm speaking from what my spirit felt. I was like, y'all don't really care. Y'all don't really care. This is about how you can advance your Democratic or your Republican, whatever
agenda.
And this is not your agenda, right? And if you're not really invested in the humanity of this person, and the humanity of who she represents, which is millions of other survivors, what are you here for? Right? This is supposed to be apolitical, because she is representative of 60 million other people in this country that all of you represent. And it crosses party lines, racial lines, religious lines, like geographical lines. And nobody got that. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, I need to divorce myself of this. People ask me all the time, will you run for office? No. My mission, my work, my vision is so much bigger than something that's political, because I need to be on the outside so I can push y'all to do what I need you to do. That's a piece of the pie. I need to be able to move politics to do what I need to do, and then some.
Yes.
So no, I would never run for office. I need to be able to move politicians.
Yes.
And sway politicians and sway people. We one of the biggest pieces of work that we're holding now is to organize survivors as a voting bloc, because we are a constituency that is owed something. So I don't want to be a politician. I want to organize survivors so that we can make politicians give us our thing. That's the position I would rather be in, so that you see us. Survivors are a powerful group of people, particularly in the United States. 60 million folks? No, you owe us something. You owe us safety, you owe us dignity, and you need to see our humanity. And so I understand that in a very different way than I did several years ago. And the more I'm in this work and the more I understand how this whole thing, how this power works in this country, I move differently. So anyway, to get back to this campaign is really, it leans into that agenda as well, right? I want people to understand the history of this country so they can really understand who survivors are too. This all leads to something. It leads to understanding how we're situated and also to why you owe us something. We've been at this a long time, right? And again, America is built on the backs of survivors. So you absolutely owe us something. Politicians, if you want to come out and talk to unions and you want to come out and talk to police, and you want to come out and you need to come out and talk to survivors. Tell us how you're going to keep when you come out and talk to and say, we want to keep America safe, you should be talking to survivors as well. How are you going to keep our communities safe? We've already been through the worst that we have ever been through. So now how are you going to keep my community safe? How are you going to keep my children safe? How are you going to keep schools and all of it? I need to understand that. And you owe us that. So this is speaking to that too.
Oh, so powerful. And so what's coming up for me is for people listening or watching, how can they become part of this survivors voting block? Because I remember I remember it was like,
yes.
even
signed a pledge.
Yes, I signed a pledge. I was like, yes, because this is such a uniting, as you said, it's across, all of these different backgrounds and 60 million people. That's a powerful block.
That's right.
And the fact that part of what you're saying is when you say you owe us, you literally talk about the predator in chief and the rest of them.
Right.
So how do you hold on to, because, we're watching them gut political power and redraw maps and all of this. How do you do both? We're not going to pretend and put our heads in the sand and act like they're not gerrymandering their way, because if they don't gerrymander, they can't win, right? So
that's right.
How do you hold both?
So one, people can go to survivorsvote.org and sign up. So we have a website called Survivors Vote. You can go, you can take our little pledge and sign up so that you can keep up with the campaign that is unrolling right now. So that please, ask people to do that.
And can I say, this is nonpartisan. We are not.
It is nonpartisan.
We are not endorsing. I keep talking about who's in the power right now, but that's not because of their party. It's because they are abusers. So right, and they come in all stripes. So yes.
And be clear, we are absolutely nonpartisan. I don't care what party you're in. Everybody owes. Everybody owes. So yes, this is definitely nonpartisan. This is a C3 organization. So 100%. So survivorsvote.org, please, you can go there and sign up. Survivor Justice Network is the network that Me Too International anchors alongside two other organizations, National Women's Law Center and Justice for Migrant Women. And we are a network of survivor justice organizations from across the country. We've all come together to do this work collectively because we believe in the same things. And so you can check out Survivor Justice Network, follow us on socials, but you can sign up at survivorsvote.org. And then the campaign, this campaign is a Me Too campaign. And so the campaign will roll out starting after July 4th. We are very excited. You can follow our socials at Me Too Movement, and movement is MVMT. So we are Me Too MVMT across all of our socials. And Survivor History is American History will be across all of our socials. So that's going to be really exciting.
I just hear it. I'm so here for this. We have very few people in our society who are both leaders, truly on a national and international scale, and they are real people, y'all. That's the thing. This is not some hierarchical, it's not Queen Tarana. So one of the things I love is how much you are, we were talking about this, the joy, the fun. If you have to be on a panel and it's a serious topic and whatever, you want to make sure you hanging out backstage with Tarana, because the energy, for people who are really going through it right now, this is not an easy time in this country, and we are inundated, and it is a lot to hold. And for those of us who are also survivors, I get triggered every time, somebody who I know said, grab them by the, we know he said it, and yet
we heard you.
Right. And so I'm just triggered back to every dude that was like, I'm gonna grab it. And I'm like, wow, you can be in the White House and a woman can't. So holding all of that while also finding our joy. You love to laugh. I know you love Michelle Buteau, and I do too.
Yes.
Don't we love her? So
Yes.
like, what's your balance? Like, I'm not saying it has to be a math formula, but I heard somebody say for every serious, hour that you're spending focusing on all of this, give yourself 2 hours of some kind of play, some kind of joy, time with your family. Like, try to have that ratio. Do you have anything like that like helps you keep it fun?
Oh, I don't have a ratio for sure because I work a lot. So, but I try to sneak it in there. I have my group chat is on fire, so we keep the group chat going. So that's kind of ongoing. And I have a pretty good partner. He is very. I sit in my office and he will come in here and he's like, enough. He's like, enough. Shut it down. Let's go. We also do karaoke. And we're pretty serious about our karaoke. We have like a whole setup in the house, microphones. Apple has the thing now where you can set it up on your TV and I don't know if people know this. You can turn your television into karaoke and go into karaoke mode. So we have a whole thing and we do like karaoke Friday.
What's your go-to song?
I'm a Mary J. Blige girl.
Yes, as we should.
So Mary is I do 25/8. It's not a very popular song by Mary, but it's my song. I love 25/8 because she has a whole breakdown in there and I break it down, get into my, so that is my song. And we do a duet.
Okay.
But I try to keep a good rotation going,
Who else are we rotating in?
We like to surprise each other. So I try not to keep a steady karaoke going because every week it would get boring, do the same song. So I get a good rotation going. The fun part actually is trying to dig through your library and come up with something that he hasn't heard because he does Larry Graham.
Wait, what? Wait, Larry
He did Larry Graham 1 in a Million.
Wait, okay. I'm going to.
1 in a million. I was kind of blown away. I was like, you really pulled that one out.
Wow, that's a deep cut. From low key, I think my grandpa had that on his playlist. I'm not gonna lie. Teddy Pendergrass, you taking me?
He's very old school. I was like, okay, you pulled that out. So I have to get my thinking cap on to really,
Mm-hmm.
I did a Rolls Royce cut though that.
This is, now we know Tarana, the fashion icon. We know Tarana, the movement leader. Now we learn about Tarana, the DJ and karaoke maven.
Listen, karaoke we keep it funky with the karaoke. Mm-hmm. So that's our little release. Cause I'll be singing my heart out too.
I wish we had some footage, but
we have footage.
Okay.
It's just, that's going to be me and you one day. that's not for public consumption. I try to, keep a little rest and relaxation every now and again because we definitely work hard, I mean, that's how we see each other because it's always in a work situation, right? We are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going to be here. Oh my gosh, look, so that's always a pleasant surprise.
Always a pleasant surprise. But we're going to work on. Yeah. So I have many Tarana notes that I'm taking with me. First of all, no Band-Aids. We done with the Band-Aids. Yes. It's time for a whole new bird. We're going to do the recap. But I got to tell you, I'm so excited for people to get into this. Survivor history is American history. And for it not to be, this is not a downer. This is not a knuckle dragging experience. We're going to get together and feel all the things, right? We feel the anger and we feel the joy. So, yeah.
Listen, the Knicks are national champions.
I mean, let's just get it back to
come on, bring it back.
This is some come from behind. And for everybody who's like, can y'all please? Yes, in about 6 months, we will stop talking about this.
Next June.
Yeah, y'all. I'm willing to sign something. The Queen's delegation is willing. Although I've been joking about this, but Rashid, if I had his hat, he's like, heretofore, the N word, which y'all are still not allowed to say, will be spelled KNICK-A.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, Rashid. Listen. Okay. I'm here for it.
Just spread it around. That's how we saying it right now. It's
here
it's
for
Nika.
it.
It's Nika. What's
Oh
good, my
my
Nika?
gosh.
What's good, my Nika?
Oh
Okay,
my
you're the
gosh.
first one to hear it. I haven't tried it out on anybody.
I need it on a t-shirt. Oh my gosh.
We're gonna work it
Here
out.
for it.
We're gonna work out. You will be the first one
Yeah.
who gets the shirt. My dear, if I
Yes.
could talk to you for the rest of my life, it would be
I
my
love
honor
it.
and my pleasure.
Thank you so much.